3 seconds. Oh, the closet's open. Hey, it's Billy Hofacker here, and I'm live. Got a great question this week, an awesome question, and I actually brought in an expert to handle this one, and I'll explain why. But let me first read the question. The question reads, how do I cook for a diverse family when some people have differing levels of wanting to eat healthy? That's a great question. And when I was single, going back over 10 years ago, I was the main cooker. I lived alone, so I cooked my food. I grilled chicken, and I steamed vegetables, and I did all that stuff. But since I've been married, while I do cook breakfast on occasion, the real cook of the house is right here. It's my wife Melissa, and she does a great job, and I think she could speak to that better than I can. The question was about well, first off, Melissa, just
hi.
Thanks for being on with me. We locked the kids up so that we could be here answering the question. But again, the question was, how do we cook when maybe the husband or the wife wants to eat healthy, or the person that's doing the cooking, while the other person doesn't, or they don't care so much, and maybe there's kids. I know in our case, we have 3 kids, but I don't know, that wasn't specified in terms of kids or ages of kids, but I know we spoke a bit, and you had some great tips to share on that. What would you say?
So I would say the first thing that's always helped us is having like a grain on hand to have as a healthy option. So instead, maybe you're making pasta and meatballs, and the kids want the pasta, and it's not whole wheat maybe, or they're just not ready for that yet. It's good sometimes to have barley or brown rice on hand, where you can just kind of take that for your portion instead of the pasta, or even just something that I thought of, vegetable noodles.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have those little machines that make veggie noodles, which are really good.
Yeah.
So I would say that's helped.
So that's a quick way to make sure that everybody, you're not necessarily cooking tons of different meals, but you have different options, component of that meal in that sense, the carbohydrates. That's a great tip.
And I would say the second thing would be get creative and try and find some healthier alternatives for like your favorite meals. One great thing that we love to do is cauliflower mash. And I know sometimes it takes a little bit of, I don't know, your taste has to kind of change a little bit from the potatoes, the mashed potatoes, to the cauliflower. I know our kids are not 100% on board with that sometimes, but it's a great option to kind of start slowly getting people accustomed to. And if you put it with a lot of garlic and butter, you really can't taste the difference, I feel.
Absolutely. I know that I love mashed cauliflower, and I can't tell the difference. So yeah, that's a great tip. There's nowadays, there's so much creativity out there.
Yeah.
I know Melissa is constantly, we have some books and recipe books and magazines, but she's also sometimes just on Pinterest looking up different recipes, and it's amazing what you can do with different technology that's out there, different foods and different creative ideas to foods that people would never believe were healthy. So in some sense, you could almost trick people into thinking that they're eating unhealthy, and then you tell them after, or you don't tell them at all. And I know there was another tip you were mentioning that I think is really possibly the most important. If you could just share how to introduce things and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So one thing that Billy actually kind of taught me, especially with kids, is just kind of slowly introducing certain foods. Sometimes, for example, with broccoli, the kids will say, "Oh, I don't like broccoli." But if they've had it enough times, you put a little butter and salt with it, and it becomes part of their palate. It becomes part of what they enjoy. So, or they can tolerate for dinner once a night. So I think part of it is just introducing your family to healthier options. The whole wheat pasta, for example, you know, it really doesn't taste that much different from regular pasta. So maybe you start mixing it with the regular pasta and get people acclimated to that, their taste. Sometimes we just need to introduce things to our palate a little bit and get creative that way. So I think slowly introducing things can kind of change your family's viewpoint on what tastes delicious and what doesn't. For us, we love Brussels sprouts and a little bit of Parmesan cheese baked, roasted in the oven. So, and you're getting a great vegetable, and but it, you know, it has a lot of flavor with it. A little balsamic on top. So,
man, making me hungry. It's almost time for
we're
dinner
not having
here.
that for dinner. Sorry.
I just want to just kind of piggyback on the whole introducing slowly idea. Many parents falsely believe that if a kid tries something once and then they don't like it, oh, they don't like that. When, depending on the age, I don't know the ages of the kids on this question, but I do know that as a parent, it really does come down to you taking that responsibility, and you're teaching them by example, number one, and number two, you're in charge. Too many parents let their kids, and I know it's easier said than done when you have a 3-year-old that's crying and they're not going to eat, but one thing we've learned is, yeah, there may be a night or two that the kids don't eat because maybe they don't like what's for dinner, but that doesn't mean that you have to now go and make a totally separate dinner for them. Hey, when they're older, they can choose, but at this point, you decide what they eat, and they have two choices. They can either eat or they can go to bed hungry, and most of the time, they're going to learn after a short time that, yeah, I don't want to go to bed hungry because that's not comfortable. And then, as Melissa said, I can't remember the exact number, but I believe it's either 14 or 16 exposures that kids need to foods before they actually like them. It's the idea that they don't know what they like. They're just little kids. They know what you tell them. And we have friends, I know we have some friends that are really strict, and the kids, you know, eat certain things, and they're fine. They're happy, and we could judge them, but you know, as a parent, you get to decide what you want to do with your kids. And
I'll just say, our 3-year-old that says she hates chicken.
Yeah.
She was eating the chicken last night.
Yeah, exactly.
So and she said she liked it.
Yeah,
so that's
exactly.
what we had for dinner.
Yeah. So just to a quick recap, number one tip was
have a grain or something alternative on hand. Barley, brown rice.
Number two,
get creative with your meals. Instead of mashed potatoes, have mashed cauliflower.
Awesome. And finally,
slowly introduce certain foods to your families. You know, they'll enjoy it if you can get creative with it and you know, learn how to make it yummy. So.
Awesome. Well, Melissa, thank you.
Thanks for
High five.
having me.
Thanks for being on. That was a lot of fun. You took time out of your busy schedule, and I appreciate it, and we're all better for it. So let's show Melissa some love. Hopefully this helps. And we're all about action. Thanks for the love. It's all about action, right? So implement, let us know how it works out, and be patient, especially when you're dealing with different family members and different likes and dislikes. Thanks again for being here, and look forward to some more great questions.